Hello and welcome to the Quick Start NoPorts installation instructions video. Before we get into the video, I am going to assume that you have already purchased two NoPorts addresses and you have shell access to both the client and the device that you'll be installing today. Throughout the instructions, you're going to see some icons that look something like this, and if you see that monitor icon, that means we are running commands in the client machine, and if you see this printer icon, that means we are running commands in the device. So, without further ado, let's get right into the instructions. Alright, in the first step, we'll be installing universal.sh on the client machine, and it's as simple as copying and pasting this command right here. And then using this next command, you can check if universal.sh installed correctly. Before we move on to the next step, you're going to want to remember three things in your head, and writing them down might also help you. One is the client address, which in my case will be @demo_clients. Second is the device address, which in my case is @demo_device. And third is the device name, and this can be anything you want as long as it is in a snake case, and it can be no longer than 36 characters long. For the sake of this video, I'll be using raspberry_pi as my device name. Now that you've successfully installed universal.sh, you just gotta give yourself permission to run the script and just run it. It's going to ask you for the install type, and since we're installing the client, we're just gonna type in client. Next, it's gonna ask you to type some more stuff in. So first, you're gonna wanna put in your client's address. So my client's address is @demo_clients. Next, enter in your device address. So I typed in @demo_device. Next, it'll ask you what socket rendezvous server you want to use, and depending on where you're located in the world, you're going to want to choose the closest one to you. And since I live in the Americas, I will type in AM. Lastly, enter the device name that you intend to name your device. In my case, I'll be using raspberry_pi. And once you typed in the device name, don't forget to press enter one more time to exit. If this isn't your first time installing, you might have already activated your keys and you might see a screen like this. The script is smart enough to know if you already have your address's keys, and if you see your client address already here, just put in the corresponding number and it'll save you the effort of having to type it in. In this case, I would type in 12 because my client address is @demo_clients. Now it's time to activate our addresses. It's important to note that you can only activate your addresses once. Once you activate them, it will generate a set of cryptographic keys, also known as the atkeys file. This atkeys file is the manager set of keys that will authorize any future devices. These keys are the keys to your data, and losing them means also losing your own data, and even access to your remote devices. To make things simple, you should be activating your address's keys on a client machine that you're comfortable using, like a personal computer or an admin machine. Just don't generate your keys on a Docker container or something. Okay, now let's get back to the instructions. We're going to generate the atkeys file of both our client's address and our device address, both on the client machine. Just head over to the instructions and copy and paste the @activate command, but you will have to replace the prefix part of the address. And once you replace it, the command will look something like this. Once you've successfully entered the command, it will send an OTP, or one-time password, to your email that you purchased these NoPorts addresses with. Just head over to that email and copy and paste the 4-digit one-time password. If all goes well, your addresses will be activated and your keys will be generated. Follow the exact same thing, but this time with your device address. I'm going to copy and paste the atactivate command and change the prefix accordingly. I will press enter and I will receive another OTP in my email. All I gotta do now is copy and paste the OTP I got in my email, and that will activate my device address. Now let's switch gears to the device. On our device machine, copy and paste the curl command, and just like before, this will download the universal.sh script for us. We can use this next command to make sure that it was successful. Next, simply copy and paste the last command to run the installer. Just like before, it will ask you for the install type. This time we will type in device. I hope you have the three strings that I asked you to write down. Now it will ask you to enter the client address, which in my case is @demo_clients, the device address, which in my case is @demo_device, and the device name, which in my case is raspberry_pi. This is the device name that you'd like to assign this device. And once you press enter, you'll be able to see the logs using this journalctl command if you want. Now this is where things get a little tricky. In step 3, we are going to be switching between the client and the device in each sub-step. So it is important that you are running the correct command on the correct device. In the first step, head over to your client machine and copy and paste the command, and replace the prefix accordingly. Running this command will give you a 6-character passcode. Have this ready to be used in just a second. Now head over to your device machine and copy and paste the command. You will have to change a couple of things in this command. First, change the device name with the same name that you set in the installation process. Then change the address prefix of your device address accordingly. Then change the passcode to the 6-character passcode that we got in the previous step. And lastly, change the address prefix one more time. If successful, the device will be waiting for an approval and will check every 10 seconds. If you see this, then you are good to move on to the next step. In this last step, the client machine will approve the enrollment request. Simply copy and paste the command and change the device name and the device address appropriately. This last command is ran on the client machine. When the command is good to go, just hit enter and it will approve the enrollment request. And there we go, we're done installing NoPorts on both our client machine and our device machine. Now let's see NoPorts in action. To use SSH, you can use our np.sh script by typing this command, and then it will ask you to choose a device that you set up initially. And that will do all the SSH key magic stuff for me. And just like that, we're using NoPorts to SSH into our device. NoPorts doesn't only work with SSH, but will also work with any of your other TCP/IP ports. To do this, you will have to use NoPorts tunnel. Run this command and edit the -f flag to the client machine, and the -t flag to the device machine. Then specify what device you want to connect to. Next, specify what rendezvous server you would like to use, such as @rv_am. Then, lastly, specify the remote port, which is the port on the device, and the local port, which is the port that the client will connect to. And once you enter this command, you'll get something like this, where NPT is listening on localhost and on a specific port. If my Raspberry Pi had an RDP service running, I would be able to RDP to localhost port 33891 and RDP with my favorite RDP client. If you got any questions, please email us at info@noports.com or ask us on our Discord.